Hi, Year 4. Today you're looking at 2D shapes again. Yesterday you had a look at tessellating. Today you're looking at translating, reflecting, and rotating, which is all ways that we can manipulate a 2D shape to change the way that they look. This is not a completely brand new concept for you. It might sound like it because maybe you haven't heard of these words before, and that's okay. But I promise you it's not completely brand new, because in kindergarten year 1, year 2, you would have used words like slide, flip, and turn to change the way that shapes look. But as you move into stage 2 and stage 3, it's really important that you know the proper terminology, which is actually translate, reflect, and rotate, which are the words we use to describe the way shapes look when we manipulate the way they are. So we'll start with translate. Translate just means to slide. So when you were younger, you might have had a shape in front of you in your classroom, and your teacher might have said, okay, slide your shape across to the right, and now tell me what it looks like. Now you can have a look at this arrow here. I've slid it across and it has had no change. It looks exactly the same. The fancy word for slide is translate. So that's the word you're going to need to use from now on. So to translate a shape, you are just sliding it. Reflect. Reflect is the fancy word for flip. Again, an activity you could have done when you were younger was to have a shape in front of you. Your teacher might have said, okay, flip it over. Now, what does it look like? The fancy word for flip is reflect. And I want you to think of it as a mirror image. So if I was to flip this arrow over, open it up and flip it over, this is what it would look like. It's mirroring it. The next word we're going to look at is to rotate. Again, in the past, you may have known this one as turn, but now we need to remember it as rotate, and it just means to turn around. Now, you need to know what anti-clockwise and clockwise means. So remember that clockwise means going around the clock as normal. Anti-clockwise is going around the clock as backwards, because you may have an instruction that says turn the arrow around or rotate the arrow around 1/4 clockwise. And as you can see here, I have turned my arrow 1/4 of a way clockwise. Now it's facing down. I'll show you some more examples. We'll do one together using the arrow, and then we will use a different shape. Okay, so if I was to translate my arrow, so I'm going to translate it. It just means I'm going to slide it. So if I slide it across, it looks exactly the same. Translate. I'm going to now reflect. Reflect means to flip or to provide a mirror image. So if I had it and I flipped it open, it would become the opposite to it, and it would look like this. If I'm going to rotate my arrow, I'm going to rotate it half a turn, and it's going to look like this. Because it started here, I moved 1/4, which would have been facing down, and I moved another half around the clock, which means it's now pointing this way. Okay, hopefully it's starting to make a bit more sense. I will try now with a different shape so that you can have a look. The shape I'm going to do is a L. So if I said to you, I want you to translate. Translate means to slide. I'm sliding my L across, and there's not much change happening. I've just moved it. If I'm asking you to, someone was to translate, if I'm asking you to reflect, remember that one means to flip. I'm just going to put it so it's the other way, because you're just opening it up, you're flipping it. If it was looking in a mirror, it would be facing the other way. The next action I want you to do with your L is to rotate it, and we're going to rotate it 1/4 clockwise. So remember, clockwise means going around the clock this way. So here's my L. I want you to rotate it one way clockwise, which would give you something like this. Okay, hopefully that's starting to make a bit more sense. It's okay if it's not. On the next slide, there's a lot more questions for you to practice with.